Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Vulture Culture. Welcome, fellow synthesizer sickos. And tonight we're going to be checking out how to make some tech house using the Roland JX-3P from 1983 or so. I actually usually am pretty good at remembering the dates. But anyways, we're going to be making some tech house and kind of going over why using a vintage synthesizer is a bit of a cheat code when it comes to making this style of music. Any sort of music that you want to have a little bit of that warm, analog, thick, retro, little dirt action like you're going to get with tech house, something like a analog synth from the 80s. And these are relatively cheap. You can find these for a lot less than a lot of the modern synths that are coming out today. I've got a retroactive programmer for it, the PG2K, but there are cheaper programmers if you want. You can also program it directly from the front panel. In fact, if I move this here, you can see it's got the whole diagram right there. It's a nice little luxury, but it's certainly not something you have to spend the money on. And then we're also going to be using Filterverse tonight. So Filterverse is one of my favorite plugins. This isn't a sponsored stream. They're not paying me anything to say this. But when it comes to making EDM music, and especially doing anything that's rhythmic, Filterverse is going to really help with that. And some other things that can help with it are like, you know, what a lot of people think with a filter plugin, it's got great reverbs, delays, all sorts of stuff to help fit the music where we want to be. So welcome, everybody. It's New Year's Eve tomorrow. So can I get some scum cheers in the chat? Happy New Year's, you guys. 2025 is going to be awesome. So cheers. So we're going to start by deleting everything I have and going from the beginning all over. So I'm going to keep the drums, and the drums are from Ghost Syndicate. So real quick here, so we could just kind of see what's going on here. I've got these different drum layers, and we can solo these just so you know what's up. Ghost Syndicate Atmos Tech 2, I think. And a big part of any sort of EDM genre is getting the drums right. The emphasis on this stream is going to be on synthesis, but, you know, get the drums right. So what do we have going on here? We got a kick drum. We got a clap here. I've processed this a little bit. We've got a 909 hi-hat. So I used the loops they had, but I felt like we just needed that 909 in there. And then we've got some percussion and hat loops in there. It's Scum Monday. That's correct. How's it going, Dub? Hypothesis 13, welcome to the stream. Hello, hello. Very excited to have you all here. Some real easy transition effects here. Super cool. Now, I'm going to just delete everything that I had before, and we'll start from the beginning. So we'll start by, I've created a template here for the JX3P, so we can hear what we have. It's a little loud. Let's drop it in here. So, real easy, shift, and then LFO1 sends an init patch. Nick Destruct, welcome to the stream. So we've got a sawtooth wave. Very warm sounding wave. As compared to a lot of, I mean, immediately it's going to smoke Serum. You can hear that it doesn't have that like super bright digital thing. It's very clear, but even though this is a DCO based analog synth, it is all analog, and it has the same filter as the Jupiter 8, actually, the IR3109 chip. And so it's a really great synth if you're trying to get that sort of Jupiter 8 Roland sound. Can I get some scum Rolands in the chat? But you don't want to spend 25 grand. Blade Runner just snagged one on the cheap, but most of the time you're going to pay for that synth. So starting off with this, I think maybe one of the first things we should get involved in is a bass line. So sort of the trick to doing the tech house bass line is we're going to use a square wave. So we've got a couple of different waves here. We've got the sawtooth. You can see it on this little diagram here. We've got a pulse wave, narrow pulse, and then we've got a square. And then we have, that's it for DCO1. DCO2 actually has noise as well. And you'll notice it's not quite in the bass range. We just need to drop the range down to 16 feet. There we go. So, you know, even before we get going, if we were to open up Serum right now and load a square wave, you'd see a big difference. For one thing, this is going to have more harmonics. It's going to be kind of like halfway between a saw and a square. It's not going to be a pure square wave. Now we'll bring in the second DCO using the mix here. We're not going to really hear much because the tuning is very tight on this synth until we increase the detune here. So really thick analog tone. So, of course, it's a bass line, so we need to bring the cutoff down and bring the envelope amount up. So this is our envelope here. We have one envelope, and it can be sent to either the filter or the VCA or both. So let's do a 50-50-50-50, one of my favorite sorts of starting places. Now, this sort of sound, if we bring it down a little bit, we can get like a brass, dark brass hit. We'll get there. You hear this type of sound all the time in this music. But we're going to turn the attack all the way off, and we're just going to use decay. And bring the cutoff down. It's actually amazing how little of the sound you need to hear. And one great thing about the JX-3P is the envelope amount here. It's really not that much. It's very constrained as compared to a digital synthesizer that'll let you go from like 0 hertz to 40K or something like that. With this, it's a very small amount. So even with the envelope amount dialed all the way up, you're not getting a lot of envelope because the cutoff is so low. So we're going to take it pretty much all the way down. We might even bring that envelope down a little to where it's almost a sine wave. I like it with that, you know, something pretty close to, all right, let's get a 50-50. We could also bring one up an octave. Let's give us a little bit more of kind of like a Juno, especially if we tighten it up. Almost like a Roland SH-101 type sound. Kind of cool, but I think for this sound, we're going to bring it down. Yeah, it's kind of crazy on the topic of aliases that my mother named me Vulture, you know? Ed from Earth, welcome, my friend. Can I get some scums in the chat for Ed? We also have a brilliance control over here on the JX-3P. We can modify anything we want. So this is going to be the start of our baseline sound. And so what we need to do is kind of riff a little bit and come up with something that we're going to be happy with. So I'm going to just loop one of these sections here. And there's a couple of tricks for coming up with baseline sounds. One thing I'm also going to do real quick here is actually just move all of this over just a bit. Something like this, maybe. and we'll move this marker off. What that's going to do is just when we involve Filterverse later, I like to sort of set it up so that, you know, we could do some automation and stuff here. So. I'm thinking something like that, some sort of vibe like that. So this is interesting as we crank the resonance. You actually can hear that we get more of that tech house sound. However, I'm going to do this with 2 bassline layers, and I think that's a big key for this type of music is, you know, let there be a couple of different layers here so you can kind of control that. We need a sub layer, so I'm going to turn the resonance all the way off. I want just a little bit more. So I'm going to apply that envelope to the VCA as well. So I can get a little release on it. Something like that. I think that would be really cool. Still need to move these over, don't we? There we go. Oh yeah. And for now, I'll just turn this off too, so we're not too crazy. There we go. I like to do a few takes because once you sort of calm down, the panic of that red recording light wears off and you start to feel some dopamine, you usually get a better take. So one of the things about tech house as compared to other house music and even any sort of genre within EDM is it's a repetitive sort of sound when it comes to the bass lines. You don't want a lot of variety. So in this case, I'm even going to cut this down to just this one loop here and reuse it instead of having that kind of more human feel, right? And I'm going to duplicate this and we'll turn this off. So we're going to keep our sort of synth layer active here. We're going to call this bass 1, take it out of record and drop it into our bass bus here. I have this preset up, and I have Duck, which is a great plugin from Devious Machines. I use it all the time for this type of thing. You could use it with sidechaining, in this case, because we're doing a 4-to-floor thing, just like the default preset works really well. So let's hear how this sounds now. It sounds good, but let's bring in If we do too much, it's going to kill the groove, right? Another little trick is we can actually do, we could do a couple of things. I think at this tempo, if we just bring this up a little bit. So. So if we listen to this just on its own, now, so what I want to do from here is actually give you more of that like typical sound. So we'll increase the envelope depth all the way. And increase the resonance. The resonance is a big part of this house sound. Now, another thing is I've kept the synth sort of mono for this part because the lowest sub frequencies do not need to be super, super crazy. How's the stream going, everybody? Actually, I just noticed something. Here, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to decrease my bit rate here. Should be back. Hello, hello, hello. Let me know if I'm back. I should be back. So hopefully, let me know that I'm back. We're going to increase the resonance here. You'll notice even when we push the resonance all the way up, it's not like a Jupiter 8. We can actually, there's a mod you can do for a JX-3P where you increase the resonance. It's on the verge of self-oscillating. But it sounds really good in this low register. Right? That's that sort of sound that you get a lot. One thing we could do is we could increase the range. So now we got one oscillator an octave up. And then I'm going to use the high pass filter actually. Because I don't want to compete with the sub bass that we've already created. So let's see how things sound over here. High-pass filter is so finicky. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. That, and now we also, I'm not, what am I doing? I'm not just, by the way, like duplicating. I'm not going to play, like, I'm going to do some like off tempo thing. Yeah, we need a cowbell up in this motherfucker for sure. So I'm going to just record that. Cheers, guys. There's nothing that compares to a fucking analog Roland. There we go. So the trick for this is going to get be real fucking finicky about it. So I'm going to set my grid to eighth notes here and try to find, you know, something in here where I was kind of doing what I want to do, right? So it looks like this is a good note. Boom, 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 boom. Something like that, right? And we can actually go in here and let's see if I can tab to transient here. Or I'm in Reaper, by the way. So I'm going to tab to transient and put a little marker there. You'll notice, see, it jumps right to that transient, and then that transient, and then this bad boy. So what I'm going to do now is delete both of these, and then really get the timing on this off key thing, this off eighth notes thing, right? And then duplicate the shit out of that. So we have this off tempo thing. Let's see how that sounds. Oh, I'm totally did that wrong. There we go. So something like this. I mean, if that's not giving you that sound, right? That tech house sort of vibe. So again, we'll just duplicate that, call this bass 2, drag it into our bassline folder. We can take this further. I have console 1 loaded up. So if I just open this up here, we should, what are we doing? Okay. I see that you're made in Sweden, but I would like to actually use you on this track. Maybe like this track. Bass 2, there we go. So we could just filter out a little more of that low end there. Oh, I see. Let me go ahead. I still have it going over here, so I just delete that. That should do it. So that's a very good way to be able to sort of use, what am I doing, 132 kilohertz low cut. We could boost some frequencies or whatever, but this, I don't want to spend too much time mixing and mastering. I want to focus mostly on laying down some vibe. That's quite high praise, Adapt Manipulate. Love Alien Vampires. Cheers, guys. Yeah, so that's a pretty good starting point. Now, what would we have if we didn't have like a big old brass sound, right? So I promised we'd get there. Let's go back, drop the range down. Let's go over to sawtooth waves now, because for brass, I always think sawtooth. Ooh, that's a juicy resonance, isn't it? And so what we can do now is add some attack. How fucking deep. And then so we could sort of change the vibe by how much resonance we add. So if we want to keep it like really dark, we could kind of take it into that territory. real tough sound. If we increase the decay, we could kind of create more of a deep. If we play the octave, it gets thick, right? If we play the octave, I want to bring that cutoff down a bit. That's about where I want it to be. So let's record that in. Oh, wrong note. I want to bring that cutoff even lower, actually. So it really dies on you. Wrong notes. Well, a little too much now. I need to bring the cutoff up a bit. There we go. I like that last take there. Beautiful thing about something like this too is we don't really have to worry about, Oh, I forgot to turn the chorus on. I forgot to turn the chorus on for bass too also, but that's okay. We can fix that later. I hear a little bit of noise. So let me just make sure. So, I have to get used to doing this. So console 1, open it up, and then bring the gate in. There we go. Little bit. Now this JX-3P has incredible chorus chips. There's almost no noise. So this is the thing about vintage synths, particularly vintage Roland chorus chips. They go real bad, especially on the 106s. And in this case, this one's really great. So, oh, the difference though. Although honestly, I kind of liked it before. I don't know. Just a little. That is so thick. So let's record it in. I need to increase the release so we can get a better fade. I want even more release so it like really fades out. There we go. So that take will work, and we'll cut it right there and then drag it over. So now we've got this wonderful tone. When I got this PG2K, it was about $600, which is a lot for a programmer, but it's, I'm a spoiled man. If you look behind me, I'm pretty spoiled. Very lucky, very, very #blessed to have this many incredible vintage instruments. There's always this discussion about how much a programmer should be worth. I agree that this one feels steep. Now, whoever said $800, is that really what they're up to now from retroactive? That seems tough. I thought it was like closer to like $650 or something like that, but I haven't looked for a while. Adap says, well worth it if you ask me. My thing is that, especially with so many incredible synthesizers from the 80s especially, they had these really not wonderful interfaces. So the question would be, okay, for a similar synthesizer that's modern, what would you expect to pay for a 6-voice polysynth? And I would say, if you look at sequential Oberheim, for instance, TO5, $1,500, right? Now, I know I spent less than $1,500 on this whole thing. So what's awesome is I've got all of this control. Can't do everything a TO5 has, right? Obviously, it doesn't have built-in effects. It doesn't have stuff like that. But what it does do is it has a really unique vintage tone that's not comparable to anything else. So my general philosophy is that a lot of times the vintage synth is actually a cooler, better purchase, and it's going to hold its value versus a modern synth, which as soon as you drive that puppy off the lot, it's going to come down, the depreciation, it's going to come down by anywhere from 20 to 30%, something like that. Whereas apparently I can sell this probably for more now than I paid for it. That's pretty cool. And the other cool thing about it is, that it has the authenticity. There's such a game right now from modern synth companies trying to sell you products that sound like they're from the 80s, when the truth is you could just buy a synth from the 80s for often a similar price. And it's not for everybody. I'm not saying everybody should do it. I think it's good to have a local synth tech, for instance, before you get into buying vintage synths. The other thing is Roland makes a $200 plugin version of this that's really authentic, and you don't need the programmer. So that's probably not a bad option too. My thing is go software or go good hardware. There's like a cheap range of hardware that I don't necessarily recommend people. The Roland Chorus, to Dubstation's point, is the best analog chorus. Changed my mind. I mean, there might be a couple of others out there. But every time I don't use it with my JX-8P and Alpha Juno, I feel guilty. This channel's about talking about the hidden gems of especially the 80s. I think the 70s synths have enough mystique. I don't really have to talk about them all that often, except for a couple of them that you don't get as often. So anyways, cheers, guys. Ed from Earth, good to see you, my friend. Good reminder to drink. Can I get some scat? I hope you guys like the new emojis. By the way, if you become a member of this channel, it really helps me out. $5 a month, cup of Starbucks coffee, right? And it helps me continue to make this content. It also gives you 50% off all of my sample packs. So that's a really great way to get vintage tone. So many people got the Moog Source sample pack after I demoed it in the last live stream. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you guys. That was really awesome how many of you actually went out and purchased the sample pack. And again, in my opinion, there's sort of like, my message to you guys is, if you want to get these vintage tones, but you don't have the money, not that you don't want to spend it, right? But like, I remember what it was like being a broke punk rock teenager, and like the idea of spending $1,500, that wasn't happening, right? I could not afford that. Maybe I could save up $200-300 or something. Well, if you go check out that live stream and use the code $10 sample pack that you can load into anything from the Moog Source, really awesome vintage tones. If you have Tal Sampler, which I think is like $79, you could also load the presets, but you certainly don't have to. So Elisa's Andromeda new from Sweetwater. What are we talking about, Mark? Are they reissuing that? I would cream my jeans if they did. It's one of my legendary synths I want to get my hands on. So anyways, let's get Filterverse involved in here. So what I'm going to do for now is just mute my bass and drums here. And my some extra transitions here. And what I'm going to do is now open up Filterverse, which is one of my favorite plugins for sure. I use it all the time on this channel just because it's so good at getting results quickly. Mixmaster says, got to reply, Dr. Mix may do comparisons of remakes versus real vintage synths. Any chance you would do that too? Yeah, I'd love to. So I've done it against the software pretty often on this channel. We've done it with a bunch of GeForce and Cherry Audio plugins. As far as the remakes go, I mean, like the most common remakes are from Behringer, who say they don't send anything out for free, which would mean I would have to buy these synths. So my thing is, if any of the members of this channel want to help me out, I've also thought about, I I don't know, doing the unscrupulous thing of ordering something from Amazon and then sending it back saying there was a problem. I don't really feel good about doing that, but I know a lot of people, I should say a lot of YouTubers built their YouTube channels off of Amazon's very generous return policy. Yo, what's up, Mighty Pinto? How you doing? So anyways, what we need to do here is add a lot of reverb. And a lot of people don't know that Filterverse has so much more in it than just boring old filters. So let's check out space real quick. I use this a lot on the channel. So if we bring this down, this increases the size. But we need to add some resonance. Let's add some more. That's a lot. Let's increase the diffusion. We're listening to a 100% wet mix right now. Let's add some detune. And now we can bring the dry wet down so we're hearing just the sound of the synth. And then we can bring it in. And you can hear I have a little bit of duck on here too, but just 20%, a very small amount. Just so you guys know like what that sound you might be hearing is. So this sounds good. The next thing I want to do is let's open up the evil filter. So this one's new. This hasn't been demoed yet on this channel. And we'll put it to high pass mode so we can kind of get a little of the low end cleaned up from that filter, from the reverb. And what I want to do is thin it out. So I'm going to now unsolo it. I should be doing this on its own track, actually. So let me go delete that and remove Filterverse from that. I don't need that. And then we'll call this brass. There we go. Now, what I want to do is thin that out a little. What the fuck is that? Kind of crazy shit going on here. Causing that crackle. So I just want to thin that out a little bit. There we go. Something like that. So I have high pass mode and then filtering out a little bit. Ice Planet, I've thought about it. I've really been curious about trying to take this show on the road. It's difficult. You know what the biggest hurdle is? It's actually Wi-Fi. Most people's Wi-Fi, it's not good enough to do a stream in this quality. So to be able to have that upload rate of really high bit rate, 1080, 30 is actually not that common. So I want to try it out, but we will see. Mixmasters says, just getting tired of reviews of the clones that ask, does it sound like vintage? Then goes, I don't know. I don't have one. But I know several YouTubers who do. Yeah, so it is one of those things, by the way, Mix. Like when I've done comparisons of synths, you know, I don't always have the exact synth. I'm not going to have, I don't own an OBX-A, a Jupiter 8. What are the other ones? A Prophet 5, a Mini Moog, and like a CS80, right? There's like $100,000 worth of synths right there. But I do have a lot of really cool synths. And so sometimes I'll shoot stuff out. And the question's not so much like, it's more like if you buy a vintage Oberheim, like a Matrix 6, for instance, and you shoot that out against like G-Force's Oberheim OBX, what kind of result are you going to get? And it's actually funny because even though G-Force makes incredible software, and the Matrix 6 is not as awesome as the original OBX, the Matrix 6 actually kind of sounds a little bit better than the software. And that's not just me saying it. That's actually James Terrace, who's a famous sound designer. He works for Cherry Audio, but he also works for like Melbourne Instruments and a bunch of it sequential. He's done sounds for sequential. I think he's done sounds for Moog. Don't quote me on that. And he was listening to some of the comparisons and it was like, yeah, I mean, you're just not going to compete with the natural chorusing from the hardware and stuff like that. So anyways, that's another thing. Yeah, Nick Destruct points out that Dr. Mix does have like 700,000 subs. This is a very small YouTube channel. I'm very grateful for every single one of you guys out there, the true scum who's here every Wednesday. I guess it's Monday night tonight. You guys make this awesome and possible, and I wouldn't trade you guys for any subscriber count. But you can't compare a channel like Dr. Mix to this one in terms of what he has access to, for sure. So anyways, moving forward here, what I really want to do is show off the new different modes here. So depending on how many polls you get, you also get completely different drive characteristics. Just bring the drive up and hear how these different sounds sound. Ooh, spits nice and clean for this type of sound. Let's try howl. Gnarly. Yes, I did just call you scum. I'll explain it in a second. That is awesome on bass lines. I've been using it a lot on bass lines. Really like clean, but it can drive the bass. I think spit's going to be where it's at. Warp is really good for pushing it, so we can actually drive spit more. So Mixmaster, if you haven't been here before, I call this community, I call myself scum. And the reason is because scum to me just means you don't look down on anybody. So I don't care what religion, race, creed, gender, however you identify, any of that shit. I don't care about that. All I care about is who you are as a person, what kind of choices you make. And if you love synthesizers as much as I do, and I would say some of the members of this channel love synths even more than me, they certainly know more than I do, then you're welcome in this community and you can call yourself scum too. Can I get some scum in the chat, by the way? Yes, it is a term of endearment. So, oh my God, where's my fucking music here? Let me go ahead and turn the quality down here. Don't need that much. So 50 works. That thing is really taxing my CPU. Let me see what's taxing it. Actually, I have a performance meter here so you can see this. Yeah, the new evil filter is taking up a lot of CPU. Interesting. Very interesting. So we might have to just swap it to the Swiss Army knife for now. And see how that affected the CPU. It's still eating a lot. So I guess evil's not too much. It is the reverb here. It sounds really good. One of the things we could do, right, now that we've done this, is we could just freeze this track real quick. So that should have, yep. So now we just have it as a file. So we've gotten rid of needing the that there. So now we got this deep brass sound. And I think I could actually drop that into the bass folder, which has, you know, a little bit more of that type of sound to it, you know, like a little bit more sidechainy. I think that sounds pretty good. So what we could get into now is a little bit, build up the track a little bit. So we're playing in G. G minor or so. So we could go all the way to. we could do that sort of a sound. Another thing we could do is actually just pull up sounds on the actual synthesizer. So preset A goes to here, B, and then we have different sounds here. So like, for instance, if we wanted to go with a electric piano sound, we could go and see what this sounds like. So different presets built into the synth. It's pretty bad. Types of sounds people wanted in 83, 82, using the what is it, cross mod? I like how it's got that little pitch mod and the delayed LFO going in there. We could go check out some of these. So this is just like a fun. We could have just used this preset, couldn't we have? It's pretty close, right, to what we did. That's a pretty good one. Fifths. So this is like a really fun one. I like the filter flow, and all we need to really do is just assign the envelope to the VCA here and increase the release quite a bit. There we are. Uncle Jerry's. My channel is not to increase gas. However, definitely, I would love to. Whoa. I've actually talked to Tone Pusher about doing something like that, and I'd love to. Right now, my schedule is rough because of a new collaboration video with another much bigger YouTuber who I've been friends with for a while, who's kind enough to feature me on his channel. That's going to be, I don't want to give away the YouTuber's name in case it doesn't happen for some reason or another, but the idea is modern synths versus vintage synths. So he's got a lot of modern synths. I've got a lot of vintage ones. We'll see how that goes. Same song, two different ways. And then I have a JX10 that's being repaired right now. So that's it had a dead voice when I bought it, but it was still worth it. Got it for very, very little. But I would love to have Tone Pusher on this channel. I have so much respect for that guy. He is wellspring of industrial knowledge and a great sound designer. So it'd be really wonderful to have him here at some point. So I plan on that, but just, for the time. So let's see how this sounds in the mix with what we got so far. Kind of got that celebration sort of sound, right? So maybe not that chord. I think we need to take it a little darker. So let's get something more like that, like a little cluster. Clusters are fun. Kind of almost has that like Twin Peaksy. want to take this and just drop it over here and then loop all of that. Or just drag this over, I suppose. Something like this. There we go. Fucking rolling, man. It sounds gorgeous with no effects at all. I mean, that's the thing about a vintage synth, right? It's so different. And I'm not saying the modern stuff can't sound as good, it certainly can, but I mean, this is fucking... God damn it, right? What a fucking vibe on that one. Let's just make sure I... Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's bring that, get rid of that, extend that all the way. It's just, sometimes looping has been a little weird. Okay, so we have that file now. Duplicating again. Let's call this pad. Let's call it pad, spell it correctly. Take it out of record. Now we can process it. So what I want to do is open up Filterverse again. That sounded so good, didn't it? And I want to start chopping it up. I want to start giving it almost that like trance gate sort of sound. So we're going to pull up a sequencer first. And what we'll do is we'll just pull up a pattern. Now, the patterns are interesting because once you sort of like get used to where they are, you could sort of, I don't know, experience them. So I'm going to put it, so a really important mode here is this unipolar mode. So it's only adding, because sometimes you want to do stuff where the filter drops down, but for me, I'm stupid. I sort of need to set the cutoff. And I can only handle like one dimension of thinking. So like adding makes sense. Adding and subtracting at the same time is too much for my Neanderthal brain to process. So unipolar mode's really good. And then picking a pattern, you'll notice like where you're at will give you some indication of what you might want to kind of get out of it. And in this case, we could probably bring the steps down to like 4 steps. Right, and pick a pattern that does something kind of cool and just increase the rate so it happens, more often than not. And I'm going to start actually with filter out. So I'm going to add, I think 12 is a good number, and bring it down a bit. And you see this little line dancing here. Sorry, you guys can't see what I'm doing. This little line dancing here, I'll exaggerate it so you can see. If I modulate this a lot, you could see that filter will show you, okay, like how loud is it going? So I could set it to 0. But I don't want to modulate it by that much because it's going to be a lot if I do. So this is what this sounds like. It's just a lot. So less than that's good. And this isn't the right shape. I just wanted to kind of show you guys like you get all sorts of cool sounds. And just like when you're designing synth sounds, I feel like most people, they go straight to the filter, right? It's like, okay, let me detune some saws and go straight to the filter. I'm panicking because I don't know how to make sounds, right? So it's like, and the filter is, I think Jamie Morton's called it like the big change knob, where it's like, okay, like if I don't know what to do, I'm going to go to the filter. Go to the volume first. The biggest tool you have is not the filter, it's the volume. If you get the amp envelope right, everything else takes care of itself. So for sure. So this one's cool, but I want to just kind of give it something more like this sort of a shape. No filter modulation at all. Now let's bring in the I like using the bread and butter. It's my favorite of the filters. So brought it down. And then we'll bring in the automation here. We can change the shape. That sounds really good. No resonance needed. 2 poles, keep it nice and dirty. Don't overdo it. Sounds really good. Hans Volt, welcome. I want to move it around in the stereo field, so let's open up another sequencer, and we can just modulate the pan with that. Turn that off and slow it down. You can see what it's doing here. Oh. Speed up the rate a bit. Isn't that good? Let's thin it out a little. I don't know if it needs to be thin. It sounds really good, but let's just see if thinning it out helps at all. Just a little. I don't even know if I'm doing anything. Oh yeah. Let's add some tempong. So this just adds a ping pong delay to left and right, bring it out even wider. Very easy to use. We could set it to 8th divisions. You guys even hear it? Let's bring in the feedback. Bring up the volume. Bring up the feedback even more. Come on now. Are you fucking kidding me? Go ahead. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh yeah. We could dampen that a little. It sounds a little bright. I'm going to bring the CPU quality down a bit too, just because it seems like my computer's at its max. I'm going to go ahead and open up here, and we'll call this one, we'll call this pad work 1. I've been saving my presets. I need to send them over to Filterverse. There are, I think there's one preset I did in here somewhere that they added, which was nice of them. So I got an idea. So we got this cool thing going with the pad, right? So now what I want to do is bring the attack down. So we got like a long pluck. We can even bring the decay down a bit. Increase some resonance there. So I got an idea. You see what I'm doing here? Oh yeah. real simple. Nothing like super wild, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this track and pull out the audio from the first one here and drag it into the second track. So we're going to call this pad 2. So now we kind of have like we're going to run it through the same Filterverse. And I'll go ahead and freeze this first one because it's probably going to be a bit on the CPU. Boom. Okay. So let's see what we got. And I'm going to change the rate here so we get a weird different, you know. I'm going to increase the feedback. I want even more delays on the second one. Thin it out a little more. There we go. What a compliment, Anthony. Thank you very much. Right? Let's take it further. I want to pull back up that preset voice. I think this is so much fun. So I want to get some release on that, so I just need to assign that to the VCA. Oh, I see what I'm doing. I need to turn that off. So we've got the thing, but we don't have the little pitchy thing on the front, but that's okay. I think it'll be okay for this track. I want to take that higher. Wow, what a fun little romp there. Let's just go ahead and... So we'll just do the same thing we've been doing all night. We'll change this. We'll call this voice. What a cool sound. And now let's freeze track the second pad. I mean, I think the TO5 is an awesome synth. Every time I hear that like demo, I get so fucking hyped because that filter resonance is great. The resonance on this synth is very, very good too. It is, of course, the Jupiter 8 filter. It's not going to sound like a Jupiter 8. It doesn't go quite as intense, but it does have a wonderful vowely, throaty character that is different than the Curtis chip thing. I think the TO5 is awesome. OB6 is awesome. JX-3P, I think rounded is a good word for it. This synth isn't going to give you the most clear stuff. Like, especially if you're doing modern music, you might want something a little bit more than this. But I would like to say we have not touched EQ at all. Just filters. That's it. Just a little high pass. And this has a high pass built into it. I just don't love committing to it because it's very extreme, in my opinion. I don't use it very often. I'd rather figure out where I want that high pass as I start mixing things. Because like if I thin too much out, like I almost think with the brass, we've thinned it out a little too much, but it's okay. Whatever, we'll be fine. So let's see what we got. Just a beautiful sort of sine wavy type of tone. So let's go into Filterverse. Let's pull up that evil filter. We can use the bandpass filter here, and we'll add a... And same idea, let's add some sequencer now, and we'll increase the rate. So we have a real, this is like increase the rate to a fourth and then bring the steps down to like 4. This is how you can get and make it unipolar. This is like easy mode for Filterverse because it makes it like a little easier for me to understand real simple patterns, and then we can pick something, you know. We also have this damage parameter, which can really add. So it's really adding a lot of character, taking it out of being just like a very digital filter plugin and giving it some more zhuzh. So again, we'll just do like a less than 1 hertz pan action here. And then of course, you know, delay, right? It's just very good. It's a good thing to have going on. Let's increase the delay quite a bit, and we can use dotted eighth notes. Very good. We are taxing the CPU, so let's just go ahead and bring that quality down. I can't hear a difference on the quality. I should probably just have it start off in low quality mode, but you know, for what it's worth. Diffusion, dampening. Let's see how this sounds. Something like this. Lava, welcome to the stream. Listen on its own here. It's it's really taken it to a whole new place. So why don't we just go ahead? Let's freeze it down. Filterverse is interesting because it can go pretty resource intensive, and sometimes it can be very simple. Just these like textures. I'm going to go ahead and increase the duck just a bit. Yeah, I know a couple of y'all got the sequential take 5, and then you've got a TO5. Who else has a TO5? I'd be curious to hear what everybody has to say. Law of Awe Pro 3 is one hell of a mono synth. Yeah, lots of drum machines. LM2, of course, just came out. Or what's it? Is that what it's called? Whatever the Behringer version is. There's been pre-order. We'll see when they come out. We got a pretty good vibe here, pretty early. Let's go ahead and just freeze these bassline tracks too for the fuck of it, right? I have to say, I'm actually surprised by how polished this sounds with zero EQ. And again, I mean, you know, I'm doing this live, so I never know exactly how the streams are going to go. I'm sure some connoisseurs of this stream have caught me on a couple of times where the stream did not go as well as I maybe would have liked. But tonight's live stream, this is looking good. This has been a fun one. So I'm going to go ahead and go Shift LFO to send an init patch. So now we are back to this. And I'm actually going to only use DCO2 and move it over to noise. And I think it's analog noise. I don't think it's PCM. Sounds pretty good. And I'm going to use the filter and the envelope. Oh, we have to ascend it to the volume as well. See how that sounds with the chorus. It might sound unnatural. Sounds a little swooshy. So we're going to record this in solo because it doesn't really matter relative to the rest of the track. We'll move it around. So real quick. So that's, I think, the slowest. Yeah, that's about as slow as I can get these envelopes to go. So if we zoom in here, we can actually use something like spectral peaks in Reaper, but we could probably just find that that's kind of our point right there that we're looking for. So I'm going to drag this to the end of the loop here. And again, we'll just duplicate this. We'll call this noise this time. Like that. And we'll drag it out like this. And we'll put a little fade on the front and end just for the hell of it. And we'll copy this and bring it to the front of the loop. And now we have a nice little kind of noise build thing. What's up, George? Yeah, miles away, super talented guy. Hope to do a video with him at some point too. Triple S, are you MIDI mapped and tracking the JX-3P? What do you mean by that? So sorry. Nick says, I got a drum log. Would love to hear what you have to say about the prologue of drum machines. Lillian for it, and a few others are crazy over my head since I'm not familiar with modular shit. Yeah. The log SDK is pretty crazy what can be done with that. And I actually talk about the prologue in my upcoming Best Synths of 2025 video because of that. Like, a lot of people missed out on how cool the log SDK was. Yeah, this is a fun one. This is a fun stream. Let's see if we can crank this up a little further. So why don't we let's add another layer of melodies to it. We're sort of bordering into progressive now because it's getting pretty. So let's pull this back to some sawtooth waves. We do have keyboard tracking, so why don't we use that a little bit? DeCarmick, I don't really know if I have a great resource there. I suppose you could ask me, and I could try to make a track in that genre in a future live stream. But we have different cross mod modes. You know, giving it a little bit more of that bite. I think that sounds great. Then what we could do is apply some volume automation from the LFO here. So we assign the, I think I can. Oh no, I don't have a Kiwi modified JX-3P. I can't do amplitude modulation. So our LFO, I guess, is routed only to the DCOs or the filter. Oh, we do have, that might be a, let me see what we got here. We do have sample and hold as a source. So why don't we try applying that to the filter and just see what we get. I think it's fine. But in this case, I don't think we need it. really, really cool. Love that you can load your own diodes and rust samples into it. That's awesome. Super, super cool. Yeah, get Tom Spooner, get that noisy but great chorus going. This one's got really great chips in it. Still pretty good. So let's get some vibe going. That cross mod adds something, doesn't it? It gives it like that little metallic edge plus the resonance. So that's a really cool, just on its own, this sound. Just really cool. We'll call this cross mod lead. There we go. And let's of course bring in, I think in this case, Filterverse again, but we could get away probably with just a really beautiful reverb with space. So just like a huge ass reverb. Full diffusion, detune, bring it down to like... That's a very cool, really big, almost like blue sky modulated thing. And so now we have that baked in. So let me just go ahead and bring these down so they're easy to move. How's the layout, guys, by the way? I kind of think this looks pretty good, like synth at the bottom, DAW at the top, but I don't know. You guys let me know. So one thing we could do is kind of do this in a different way where we move all the melodic stuff up front and we leave the, you know, some of the bass and everything over here. So we could kind of have like, I think that's another part of this genre is, you know, progressive house, you have everything kind of happening at once. Tech house, a lot of times you'll go to like a very minimal drop. So let's see how this sounds. Kind of a different approach to the whole thing. Let me kind of zoom out here so you can see what I'm doing. Try to give you guys what's up. Give you the what for. There we go. So you can kind of see all the layers at once that we've done so far. Something like that. Yeah. Let's set it to eighth notes there, or quarters. There we go. Let's do 2 loops of this because it sounds so good, of the melodic stuff. And we can even kind of bring in different layers as we go. Let's bring this over like that. And then bring this like this. And let's mute the clap for the beginning. And we'll get rid of the cross mod lead and the voice to start with. Oh yeah. Now what we'll do is copy all of this over here. Yeah, I think like that. Maybe I'll bring the voice in, but that second lead here. There we go. Let's mute these 909s here. We'll have that come in later. I like that one. There we go. This is a good old banger. And that Filterverse, you know? Whoa. Lost all control there. Let's hear that loop just from the end here. Let's see how it loops if we like it. Oh, I should probably drop these at the beginning here too. I love that evil filter from Filterverse on the voice. It's giving it this totally different, almost like tape delay sort of crunch to it. Sounds very beautiful. Big fan. Fuck me, man. This is not bad. Oh yeah. Here we go. And the drop. Oh yeah. Let's just turn this kick up. You know, like a little. There we go. No EQ at all. That is blowing my mind. I feel like we need one layer in here to kind of change it up a little bit. So let's just, for this one part right here, let me see what I have from my XP. Let's go ahead and initialize. Let's put it in sync mode and apply an envelope to so we can get these sorts of like hard sync sort of sounds. You know, so it's sort of like real techno edge sort of sound that we could get in here real quick. Something like that. And again, with tech house, I've said it a bunch of times, but you want to like keep this really minimal on variation. So let's try this other one, see if my timing was better on this loop. I want to get in here and actually just make sure we get this super great. Try to get this on camera for you guys. You can see what I'm doing here. So let's see if I can set this to 16th notes and then just tab. It's going to let me tab. Control Shift Alt T, bring my transient sensitivity down. Okay, let's try that. There we go. Add a stretch marker, stretch marker, stretch marker, stretch marker, stretch marker, stretch marker. There we go. Do I have one more in there? Yeah, I do. Wow. Now we can get this perfect timing just to kind of fix it a little bit. It doesn't take much. Now, of course, you could do this all with MIDI, right? And obviously, there's some advantages to that because you're just not going to end up with, you know, any sort of weird errors. But for me, for whatever reason, I don't know why I am this way. I like doing it with audio. I like playing it in. Synth with the JX3P, Synth like the JX3P without velocity and aftertouch, maybe not quite as much of a big deal, but I still something about having it. And I guess like the moment I'm writing in MIDI, that's like how I did it before I had synth. So some of this might just be my own trauma of, you know, making music with a cracked version of Cubase back in 2008 or whatever, and just wanting to have a workflow that feels completely separate to that. So now that we have that, let's duplicate the track, you know, take it out. We'll call it hard sync thing. And now let's hear what we have. So that's pretty cool. We'll loop here. And what I want to do is just give it some filth. So this is, again, something Filterverse is great. Evil will probably get the job done because it's so evil. So let's just turn the drive on and see what we get. For this one, fizz sounds great. It's a one-pole filter. It's really, really aggressive. So. I don't think we need a sequencer, but just for the fuck of it, let's try and see if there's any sounds that kind of strike us, any sort of like plucky sort of thing. In the 70s here, we get a lot of these patterns that look like this. That actually sounds pretty good. Let's modulate the cutoff further with another sequencer. And we can just change. This is a pretty good pattern. Actually, we'll go to pattern. I think it's like 26 or so. Yeah. And then we can flip it upside down. This is a trick that took me a while to figure out. And bring the rate down to 16. And now we have like a slowly rising sawtooth wave here. So let me zoom out here and see where we're at. Looks like this is where I want to be. Let me just make sure I'm right where I want to be in terms of modulation. Okay, I need to bring this to like 8, maybe. Let's try 8. I'm following this little dot. Trick. What I need to do is just I'm going to put a little marker here so I can see what I'm doing. So I've just added a little marker, and then I'm going to grab everything like this and then just bring this here, right? And now that should be perfect. And the reason I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, Filterverse is really great for this type of automation because we can set it up so it's always perfectly where we want it to be in the actual sequence. to increase that from 8 to 16. We should be ready. Getting this just awesome acid thing. So that's great. Now I want to be able to make that wide if I want it to be. So we're going to bring in a little flanging and use another sequencer to control that. Turn the sequence off, bring it down to about 0.5 hertz. And then I've done this trick a bunch of times before, but if you hit this button now, it will modulate the left and right channels in opposite, which is how the chorus on the Roland JX-3P works. So as one channel's modulation goes up, the other one comes down. So it's the exact same process that's happening with the chips inside of the JX-3P, but it's happening digitally, so it'll be a little cleaner. 50-50, we might even use less. This is just controlling the stereo width, basically, but with a sort of analog chorus philosophy. We can make it darker with some dampening, give it that analog feel. Have a great night, Uncle Jerry. Thanks for hanging out with us. AJ Rinfer, welcome. Love Chicago. Waiting for the doors to open to mix Mal P to 6,000 Crazy Animals. Awesome, man. Enjoy. I never DJ'd for 6,000 people when I was a DJ, so go get it. Sounds so good. Now I'm just going to add one more duck because I just want to get it to pump a little harder. What is that note? It just needs to get it's a little off there. Let's see, I set it to eighth notes. Yeah, it's right in here. This is the issue. There we go. Little stretch marker. I will just stretch marker it. And I'm not going to fuck with too much in here. Just this note right there. Well, I don't know. I don't really know what to do about it. It's a good song. It's a good song. Aquatic and Synthsonic, talk about a fun stream. This one has gone much better than I was expecting. Sometimes we have some pretty, you know, like it could go pear-shaped quick, but this one actually ended up being like, this track feels really polished. And I am shocked. It just brings me back again to why I love synth so much. And there's something to be said. I used to be one of those people who is like all software all the time, you know, and just whatever. But for me, honestly, at this point, I kind of think like it's not even necessarily the hardware, because there's software that's great too. It's that like starting with a great sound. I've spent so much time EQing soft synths to get them to sound half as good as this sounds. And this isn't even like, you know, this is a very reasonable to afford synth. So just super happy how this one came out. A lot of fun. I think we can go ahead and call it. I'm going to do one more playthrough of it and, you know, tweak it a couple of times, and then we'll say goodnight and play it out for the outro. I'm pretty proud of this one. This is pretty good. So. Do I still have that effect? Okay, I'll freeze this real quick and then we'll play it. Okay, let's hear how it goes. Hands in the air. Club Space Miami. I really appreciate that, Carl. One of the things that's hard about these streams is it's got you know, it's got some Ice Planet 9000 in it, doesn't it? A little of that ambient. The one note's gonna drive me fucking crazy. It's okay. It's close enough. It gives it flavor. Let's see if I can bring in like a little frequency here. Yeah, I think it's okay. I'm using Reaper. It's great. $60. Free for 2 months to try. I know what I would do. I know how I would sequence this out. I'm going to drag these over one more here. And I'm going to zoom in. Zoom, 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 zoom. And then just give myself a little, come on, give me a little, gosh darn it. Let me just fucking get this little fade. That's all I needed, a little fade on the kick drum. That was painful. Okay, and then, yeah, bring in this action. Bring it on over. The same thing here. Builds are all there still. I think I've got one more little section here, so see how this looks. And one more over here, like this. So we have like a full, what is this? 155. What is this? Like a 4-minute fucking track, I think. So, you know, we don't get to really hear everything till the end here. Oh, I want to have all of this. I need to have all of these synth sounds right here at the end. Just going full. Let's mute these. Just this little tech. Hate that note. I could unfreeze it and fix it. I don't know. Oh! Let's hear that one more time. I really should, shouldn't I, Aquatic? It seems kind of sad not to. This is like a full track, and it's like someone said, like, how the fuck did this start 2 hours ago? I've spent so much of my, like, years on one track, and this one's very good. Filterverse, baby. I'm telling you guys. DeCarmick asked earlier, you know, do I need Filterverse if I have all these other plugins? And it's like, of course not. All of those other plugins are incredible. But Filterverse is good. It's fucking good. Filterverse, analog vintage synth, pretty much there. Wow. Really cool. Is it $1.29 right now? I think we just missed the holiday sale then. It was like less than 100. There's a lot in Filterverse. I mean, I barely scratched the surface. I love how it breaks down to almost nothing. That's the note. Oh, perfection is the killer of perfect. Oh yeah. I definitely need to cut this into like a short or something so I can send just this part of the video to someone, because it's pretty great. Perfect is the enemy of good. That's what it is. Thank you, Mighty. By the way, guys, I mixed and mastered Miss FD's new track, Curse Breaker, which just came out this week. Music video by Taz Luhrmann. Incredible song, incredible vocals, incredible message. Just really an honor to be able to work with one of my heroes in the dark synth genre, Miss FD. So if you haven't yet, you should check it out. I don't know, FD, if you can drop it in the chat, drop a link. Have I made you a moderator? Can I do that? Yeah, you're a mod. You should be able to drop the link to the video in the chat if you want. Also, FD, you've got an XP, right? You've got a JX3P in your synth dungeon. If I recall correctly. So if you do, yeah, definitely worth checking out. It's been, we've done a bunch of music together. I would say it's pretty much become like, I don't do that many tracks. I got to work with Angel Spit this year. Super cool. And worked with Syavia last year, and always love working with Miss FD. So hopefully FD, you can drop the link in the chat so people can see it. That would be awesome. Sometimes YouTube's weird about links because it's trying to, stop people from scamming and stuff like that. Yeah, so I mean, this is a super applicable stream to what you do. I love the JX3P. I think it sounds great. And of course, if you have to program it, it's a little bit more, but I mean, it's basically like, type the number, whatever. It's like you could get it done. Programmer makes it super fast and easy. Thank you very much. And I think this is a good place to call it. Very excited. Yeah, I should. I think I might upload a Google Drive folder to the members only section of this YouTube channel. That way that's basically my Patreon, is the member section of this chat or of this channel. And that way if people want to mess with it. I also want to see if I can upload the presets I made to the actual Filterverse library. That's another thing. I need to reach out to the team and send them what I have, because I've made a few presets, and I think that would be super cool. Also, because those of you who have Filterverse could just pull up like that kind of thing. I like Filterverse for doing a lot simpler stuff. If you open up the presets in Filterverse, it's like crazy, because Infected Mushroom, I forget how to pronounce his name, but the guy from Infected Mushroom works for Polyverse. So like he's doing all this sound design, and it's like, it gets so deep. And I find really, like, I'm not a psytrance artist, like I'm not trying to go for that sort of a thing. So like a lot of the presets in Filterverse to me are like overdone, in the sense of like, I guess they're really cool if you start with like a simple sound, which, having watched some of the live streams, how they do that, they'll start with like a basic sawtooth patch, and then by the end of it, it's like you load one preset, it's like a whole song. But it's almost like the Wave Station or some of those synths where like it's hard, almost like hard to be creative, because as soon as you feed it something, it's going to have that sound. So like I like creating simpler presets with Filterverse, for sure. So anyways, guys, yeah, and here's the thing. Filterverse is great. You don't need it. You can use the tools you already have. For me, it's kind of like a shortcut, but it's a very similar plugin to what is it that Dekarmic has? The Shaperbox. I have Shaperbox too. I bought it a while ago, and it does the same type of thing as Filterverse. So I don't think you need both. I like Filterverse, Polyverse. They're very cool. Like whenever I have a suggestion, they will implement it for me. They'll like make the plugin how I want it to be, which is super cool. But they're just nice people, so I like supporting them a lot. They've been super cool, and I do have more videos coming out on their channel too. But they didn't pay me for this video. I always like to disclose. But Happy New Year's, you guys. What a wonderful stream to close out 2024. I can't wait for 2025. I think it's going to be really great to see what you guys do in 2025 with your music. I'm constantly blown away by the talent of the people who watch this channel. It's just been really great. So I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys. I think I'm out of alcohol, so I can't do a scum cheers. Let me see if I can pour the last few drops of this beer into this whiskey. So I got just a little bit in there. So can I get a scum cheers to everybody who's made this channel a phenomenal place to be. Thank you guys so much for changing my life and making this really great. So if you haven't yet, subscribe. We do this every Wednesday. We'll pick back up on Wednesdays. I'm going to have to do another Monday halfway through January because I'm running a marathon, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't really matter. So cheers, guys. I appreciate you so much. You guys are really great. Continue to be excellent, and I will see you next week.